You've seen chord symbols and diagrams with sevens on them, right? D7, B minor 7, G major 7, C minor 7 flat 5. Without a solid understanding of how these chords are built, hence what their names are, this can be very confusing. Once you do start to discover how they're built, hence why they're called what they are, you take a giant step towards having a reliable and flexible chord library. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. Today you will learn about 4-part chords. But 7 chords. But see, it's already confusing. Why did I say 4-part chords when we're talking about 7 chords? I'm going to dispel all this confusion. I'm going to tell you why 4-part chords are 7 chords. Sort of tie that all up, get the confusion out, right? Show you how they're built. Then we're going to zoom in and I'm going to show you how to build them directly on the fretboard from a very, very familiar bar chord shape that you and I already know. So that you have the tools, you can just build these chords when you see them, right? Okay, before we zoom in, I just want to tell you what a 4-part chord is. What is that? Why are 4-part chords also 7 chords? Any major or minor chord you know how to play. Your big cowboy chords, G, D, A, E, even the minor ones, A minor, E minor, D minor. Those are all triads. They're triads because they're built from 3 notes, the root, the third, and the fifth of a major scale. So even your big old G chord, even though it has 6 strings ringing out, it only has 3 notes. Some of those notes are repeated. These are triads, root, 3, and 5. The 4-part chord simply adds the 7th degree of the scale, right? Remember, these are root, 3, 5, the root, the third, and the fifth note of the major scale. So the root, the third, the fifth, and the 7th of the major scale gives you a 4-part chord. 4 parts have a 7 in them. That's how they get their name. That's why they're called what they are. Turns out there are 4 primary types of 4-part chords built from the major scale. We're going to zoom in. I'm going to show you the formulas for each one of those and how to build them on the neck using a very, very common bar chord shape that we both know. Let's zoom in. I'll show you how it works. Okay, 4-part chords have a 7 in them. Let's figure out how to map these to the fretboard. We're going to use a very, very familiar bar chord here. Root on the A string. Here we are on the 5th fret. This is a D chord. So just a D bar chord. If you don't recognize this, it's like an A. Just keep moving it up. A, B, C, D, right? Here's our D bar chord. We're going to use this chord to harvest and sort of build our 4-part chords. But the first thing we need to know about this is where the root, third, and fifth are, right? Because as we know, for these 4-part chords, we're going to need the root, 3, 5, and the 7. So let's find out what this chord is built of and figure out how we're going to map these 4-part chords. So the way to do this is you just put a major scale around this chord. Here's how it goes. Major scale from the 5th fret of the A string, D major. That's the scale that creates this chord. Okay? Let's number these and we'll figure out what each one of these notes is in the chord. Root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, root, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Root, 5, root, 3. So that's how this chord is built. Those are the notes in this chord. The root, the 3, and the 5. Our first 4-part chord is a major 7 chord. And again, all of these need the 7. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do here. Here's the formula for the major 7 chord. Root, 3, 5, 7. Now, as we just figured out, this chord has a root, a fifth, another root, and a third. If we just review the major scale again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look how close the 7 is to this other root. Right? So we're going to use this root in the middle of the chord and we're going to move it to get the 7. So here's our major chord. If we move this note down a half step, keep the other notes the same. There's our major 7 chord, root 3, 5, 7. We just took that root and we moved it down a half step to grab that 7 and get that 4 parts, right? Root 3, 5, 7. Pretty easy, right? Here's our next chord formula, dominant 7th chord. Dominant 7th chord is root 3, 5, flat 7. This is often just noted with a 7. Instead of major 7, minor 7, it just says 7. Sometimes it says dominant 7. And that is, if the flat 7 is simply moving this note again down a half step. I'm already barring here, so all I have to do is let go. There's a D7, D dominant 7. So we did major, move the root down a half step for major 7. Move it down again for dominant 7, right? Our next formula is minor 7. It's root, flat 3, 5, flat 7. So we already have all those notes. We just need to find the third and flat it. This is the third right here. We just take that on the B string. We just take that down a half step. And we have minor 7. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7. The last chord formula is minor 7, flat 5, and that is root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. The only note we haven't changed yet is this 5th here. So all we have to do is move that down a half step. Now I like to finger this chord a little bit differently. But that chord is root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. And we altered it just from this major chord. We applied all 4 of these formulas to this simple major chord and found out how to build any one of these. Major, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7, flat 5, right? That's how you build these chords. That's how these 7 chords, these 4-part chords are built. Now I just want to show you something. This chord, this D bar chord, is the exact same notes as this chord. Your classic D open chord. Listen, it's the same notes. Same exact thing. So a little bit of homework is to alter this chord into all the different 4-part chords we just covered. Here's what it looks like. Major, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7, flat 5. It's the same exact voicings, the same exact thing. You're just building it in a different part of the neck, using a different chord shape to build the same chords. Okay, one more thing before we go, and that is you can do the same thing with this bar chord. This is 5th fret on the E string. This is an A chord. I'm going to tab this all up, but I'm just going to run through these and show you what it looks like. Here's major, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, and minor 7, flat 5. All coming from this bar chord. So those 2 shapes, your sort of primary bar chords, you can change into any one of these 4-part chords, these chords that have a 7 in them. Okay, that's how you build 4-part chords. All of these 7 chords, major 7, dominant 7, right? Also called just 7. Minor 7, minor 7, flat 5. These 4-part chord types are built from the major scale, right? And we just learned how to do it. We're just taking those notes and altering. We're taking that root down a half step for the major 7. We're moving the 3rd when we need to make the chord minor. And finally, we're moving the 3rd, the 7, and the 5th when we're getting that minor 7, flat 5 chord. Okay, I've tabbed all these examples out. The bar chord examples, as well as that open D chord example. I've even included tabs to make these chords with the root on the E string, so that you have a library of chords from the A string as well as the E string. Those tabs are all on Patreon. I've linked that in the description below. Head on over there if you want to get the tabs, sort of get deeper into this and really catalog these 4-part chords. And if you do decide to support the channel, I thank you in advance. Okay, go forth. This type of thing turns you from a chord player into a chord builder, right? When you see a chord symbol, you want to be able to build that chord, not look at it and go, I don't know that, right? This type of method gives you that power to become a chord builder. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you find it's helpful, and I'll see you next time.